What's up, guys? It's me, Mike, and Gov back again, and we're talking some NBA Finals preview. We're going to be giving our NBA hot takes, maybe some off-season, and some potential news coming down the pipes. Uh, we also have some a fun new segment that I'm calling "Bank It or Tank It," which we're going to explain a little bit later, and new era sports. The Stephen A. Draymond Green kind of discussion near the end of the show. And I have some new graphics in the presentation, so hopefully you guys enjoy. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. We have 53 to 52 subscribers out of 100. As soon as we reach 100, we'll be doing a giveaway. So we're more than halfway there now, guys. We're going to tweet out the link for the podcast, and then we can get into it, Mike. But you had an interesting topic. I'll let you introduce it, where you talked about players that you were looking forward to seeing maybe next year make the playoffs that didn't this year. And I'll let you go from there as I send out the links for everyone to join us.
All right. So, yeah, as Logan said, the question I thought of was like, man, who missed the playoffs this year? And I was sad that they didn't make it, and I can't wait and hope they really, their teams get to turn it around. And the number one guy on my list, just because the games I watched where he just took over in the playoffs and made it that's Steph Curry type magic, and it's Dame Lillard. I think everybody knows he's clutch fourth quarter time. He's got ice in the veins. And there was one matchup with the next guy I'm going to mention in the playoffs 2 years ago that they just had one game back and forth hitting threes that were – one was more ridiculous than the next. But it was Jamal Murray. That guy also tore his ACL in that. If it wasn't that series, it was the next series. But while they were both going at it, that was some of the best, just ridiculous 3-point shots and clutch basket after clutch basket in the fourth quarter. And I forget, but I think that game might have gone into a couple overtimes with Dame hitting just ridiculous threes and forcing comebacks each time in the overtimes. But those are the big top two that I don't think people forgot about Dame, but I do think people probably forgot about Jamal Murray. And I don't know if anybody else wants to get any more. I got a few I can list, but I know Gov had at least one if he wants to get one in before I take probably too many.
Well, let me get Gov in here because I really like your Lillard take, so I want to circle back to that. But who you got, Gov?
Yeah, I wasn't even looking at an old guy. I don't really want to see any of these old guys.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
I want Cleveland to do better. I thought what I thought was very solid this year. I think Garland and them can take a step forward. I think Kevin Love, if you want an old guy, he probably still has something left in him to be a supporting role guy off the bench. I want to see what Cleveland's going to do next year. I'd really like to see them take a step forward and be one of those mid-tier teams in the East.
I agree. Garland definitely stepped up.
Replace what Dynamo did.
When Sexton went down, and it's they could even get Sexton back.
I got an interesting springboard conversation off of that. Then, who, given what we know, and we'll circle back to who we want in the playoffs, because I actually think this is possible to happen with the Pistons. Behind the scenes, you guys know I'm high on the Pistons this year, and it's not because I'm from Michigan, because I'm actually a Lakers fan. But would you guys take Mobley or Cade Cunningham?
Mobley.
I would take Cade Cunningham.
I think I would lean Cade Cunningham too for his versatility, but Mobley is looking really good too.
It's Bagley, right? Talking about who? Mobley?
No, Evan Mobley from the.
Okay. I know you're Detroit. Still on Detroit.
No, because
Mobley, duh. I still take Cade Cunningham.
I would go Cade, but it's close. I actually think they got it wrong with Scotty Barnes. By the way, I'm not a big Scotty Barnes guy, but that's a discussion for another day. That's a sneak peek for the people. That's a sneak peek. But Mike, I have to say I agree with both of your takes. Actually, I really think Cleveland has and I like that Gov went more the team element and you went more the player element. But I like that Cavs team, especially Allen. I think Allen's a very underrated piece for that team.
Yeah, they do have a lot of good pieces that are young.
Pretty.
Do they still have Karis LeVert?
They do have Karis LeVert.
They have LeVert. So, like, you're telling me you have Garland, Sexton, and LeVert as your backcourt, and then you get Jared Allen, Mobley, and Kevin Love as your front court. Like, that's a six-man. You put two good, solid role players that can help you in the East.
Yeah.
And you can make a shot at the title with that.
I think more importantly,
guys got to hit their shots, but you can make a shot. You got scoring. You can make a shot at the title. You probably got to get two good defensive bench pieces to make a nice, solid 8-man rotation.
I think more importantly, though, I don't know if this is Mike's.
And Lauri Markkanen is one of those that fits perfectly. Sorry, I was saying it.
Oh, you're good, man. No, you're fine. We're starting to get that chemistry down. We're starting to get it down now. I could hear that breath, Gov, and I knew Gov had more goodness to give us. But I
just had to drink some soda. Oh yeah.
Woo! What kind of soda, man? We kicking the old school Kobe Bryant Sprite, or are we going like?
God no. Coke is all I do. Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Okay.
Coca-Cola is a hell of a soda.
To bring it back to basketball, you mix it with some KG Crown Royal, or you going old school kid style, like you going virgin, just the soda tonight?
It's just soda.
Okay, it's not.
You gotta drink all the time. I'm fine with just some soda every once in a while.
I appreciate that. No, so speaking of though, I do think the guy that's gonna pop off this season is Cade Cunningham and the Pistons. I see. It's almost like I'm starting to become a professional, Mike. I'm starting to prep my own takes here. So I have two takes. I think Cade Cunningham and the Pistons will be that surprise team from the Eastern Conference, and they're going to make a playoff run. And I think I've said this before to you guys off air, I think, and I might have mentioned it slightly on a podcast, but I really do think the way the Pistons are building is very similar to that Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire Suns team, where you have Jeremy Grant's going to play that Sean Marion role. You got Bagley that can play the Amari Stoudemire role, maybe a hybrid role where you see more threes, because you did see more threes out of Amari later in his career. And then you got the ultimate creator, Cade Cunningham, similar to Nash. And then I think they're going to put a bunch of shooters around that, like a Jason Richardson type, or I like this kid coming out of the draft named Sharp, who didn't actually play in college. Is just a bona fide scorer, kind of like a LaMelo Ball, and the way he approaches offense, like not size or strength or any of that, but the way they both view offense, and just like they'll let it fly whether they make it or miss it. And I've always appreciated that. Like, if you're a professional and you made it this far, you can't then pretend like you don't belong on the stage. So I always like people that have that moxie. I do agree with you talking about moxie, though, talking about the best rapper in the game, Damian Lillard. In terms of like an actual athlete who actually music is pretty good, Damian's right up there. And I think he's going to have a bounce back. I've said this multiple times, and it's going to sound silly because of the teams and the situation, and it couldn't be more polar opposite this year. But I would rather have Lillard's talent over Steph Curry's. And I think if the teams were reversed, people would see Damian Lillard similar to how they see Curry. And that's not a slight on Curry, so don't Stephen A. Smith hot take me. I think both players are great. I just think like that's how highly I think of Curry. and how highly I think of Lillard. Like, I just think those guys are interchangeable and some of the stuff they can do. I just think one was on a good team and one was on a bad team.
Yeah,
What do you think about Anthony's? It's not Simons. Why am I blanking?
Yeah, Simmons or Simons.
I think it's Simmons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think he's like a good running mate? Because part of me is scared he's just another CJ McCollum, and they kind of need something different. So I'm curious to see what they'll do with the draft pick.
Yeah, I just don't know that he's a guy to play with Dame. I think, you're almost seeing, in a way, and maybe it's because New Orleans had a lot of other pieces, but they didn't even have Zion, who is going to be my next player on the list. Speaking of that, because he didn't play in the playoffs, even though his team made the playoffs, and I know he's played so limited games, and I know his weight might be an issue, or just staying healthy in general. But if he is, that guy is a train. He's a freight train coming through, and he is stopping at the rim and dunking on you.
Well, to give us a break and pull a headline from the news that might be interesting to you guys, the fantasy realm of possibilities in the offseason. We talked about some. The rumor is the Miami Heat are trying to come up with a package to get Donovan Mitchell, including the package would include Tyler Hero.
That's a smart trade for the Heat.
Obviously,
Yeah,
I don't
know why Utah would trade Mitchell unless he's asking out quietly.
I will say though, you know who helps run that team over in Utah? It is Wade, so that does kind of lend some credibility to the story, in my opinion, because the connections are there at least. I'm not saying it's likely, and even just like that it was a rumor, so it's not like they're reporting it's going to happen. But I figure since we were talking about hypotheticals,
I mean, it doesn't really work for the Jazz.
I would have to know what else they would give up though, because
I feel like, the problem is like giving up Donovan Mitchell. Hero doesn't take that space. Hero takes Jordan Clarkson's spot, and so now you have Jordan Clarkson and who's the other point guard they have with Mitchell? They have another guard with Mitchell. I'm forgetting.
Oh, they have
who's the other starting guard on Utah that I can't remember?
Mike Conley.
Conley, there you go. Yeah, so you usually have Conley and Mitchell, and then Clarkson off the bench. Hero is basically what Clarkson is. So if you get rid of Mitchell, are you going to start Conley and Clarkson and bring Hero off the bench? You're going to start Conley and Hero,
See,
and bring Clarkson off the bench like you have been.
I'm a big.
It's kind of a downgrade to them at the guard, but if you're going to do that and then keep Gobert and then use those draft picks to get you a really good wing big, or flip those into someone who can fit that role, that might work out for Utah. Like I could see them doing like the Knicks. I know want Mitchell. I could see maybe them jumping into a 3-team trade with the Knicks, and now Utah gets Hero, and they get Julius Randle.
I was gonna say
Gobert,
I have to know
something like that, or RJ Barrett to put next to Gobert. If you told me you're switching out Mitchell, but you're getting Hero and RJ Barrett, now it makes sense for Utah. And then the Knicks could get all those draft picks, and for all I care, and Donovan Mitchell goes to Miami. That would be something that could work in my mind.
See, Mike, what
that makes all three. Honestly, that might work for all three teams, to be fair.
What do you think, Mike? Because I would have to.
What was in the three-way?
The Knicks could even throw in like an extra guard. Like if they love quickly in that, they could throw in a Derrick Rose or something for depth somewhere.
So it's a 3-team trade rumor, but nobody really knows too much besides Hero, Mitchell, and the Knicks would want picks. Those are the initial 3 headlines coming out.
Yeah, the Knicks want to get Mitchell, but they're not willing. We don't know what they're willing to give up, and they'd be fine getting picks in return probably. And we know the Heat want Mitchell, and we know they'd give up Hero and picks. So I was saying a 3-team trade between them. And then as long as the Knicks are willing to give up one of Randall or Barrett, send that to Utah. Utah sends Mitchell to Miami. And then Hero and picks get flipped between those
The
other
Knicks
two.
aren't going to trade Barrett for
Hero going to the Knicks and them sending like Derrick Rose somewhere as part of that trade.
Well, that's an interesting part too.
Heroes going there, then maybe Hero and picks, but the picks aren't that these guys have aren't any good. They both made the playoffs, right? I mean, unless they somehow lotteried up, but through a trade. But I don't think they did.
It's interesting, but I would have to know what else is involved.
Yeah, I saw on the bottom line today that Hero wants to be a starter next season for the Heat. Was all it said. So I guess he's made it known. Maybe now people are starting to think that
makes it seem likely that they could trade him to Utah for Mitchell, and now it's going to be Conley and Hero with Clarkson. If Hero wants to start, that makes it seem more likely that could just be a 2-team trade. But I feel like Utah would be a better team if instead of getting Hero and then trying to do it with picks, I would still want them to take those picks and something and flip it for a good wing that could score in that, like a Barrett or a Randall or something from the Knicks or somewhere else. But that'd be what I'd want to see from Utah.
So we were
They
talking.
do need to get rid of Mitchell though, so he should be moved. Don't want to give anything away, but I put $1 on Mitchell being moved before the start of the season.
I do think Mitchell will get moved though. But speaking of movers and shakers,
why not trade Gobert? Because isn't that their thing that they don't want to play with each other? Or
talking about trading.
what?
See, I like
Everyone's talking about trading. I like Gobert for Utah. I think that's a good piece to have to build with. That gives you some stability to build with. You have a defensive anchor. Now you just have to make sure that he's not doing like this year where he's the only defensive guy you have. That's really what they need. They need another wing and another guard that can actually play defense. They don't need 4 guys that can do that. That's what Dallas is the opposite. They have no Gobert. And then Luka and Bullock and Finney Smith can all play wing defense against anyone in the league.
I was going to say, the team that makes the most sense for Rudy Gobert to me is the Dallas Mavericks. We know Mark Cuban likes that big guy. We saw it with Tyson Chandler. That was the big championship run. Shout out to CJ.
I personally think if you put Dorian Finney-Smith and Reggie Bullock in place of Royce O'Neal and Mike Conley on Utah, they're the 2 seed, maybe even the 1 seed.
And then they lose in the first round again because they're with Donovan Mitchell. I think you guys are so wrong. I just looked at their ages. Rudy Gobert is going to be 30 at the end of June, and Donovan Mitchell is going to turn 26 in September. I'll take the guy that's 4 years younger.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no, he's the better asset, but Gobert, that's why I would keep Gobert because you probably won't get as much as you need to out of him.
All right, fair. But then you think, I don't know. I don't know that. I think it's just a smaller window because he's 7-footer. These guys don't.
No, I'm not with Governor.
They don't
Mike.
last as long. You're right, but you don't need him to do as much. It's not like you're asking him to be Shaq and be 30 and 15 every night. If he can just his bad games last year where he only scored 8 points but maybe had 12, 14 rebounds and played 27 minutes with a few fouls and had good defensive stats. If he can do that most of the time for another 5 years, that's all I need from Gobert. I just got to build a good team around him. All that Utah team needs is 1 or 2 better wing defenders that don't really.
And then they have to replace Donovan Mitchell.
Basically, just what Royce O'Neal and that we're doing.
I'm more on Mike's side here. I don't think Mitchell is easily replaceable. In fact, I think Mitchell is an all-star almost every year of his career for the next 5 years if he stays healthy. Like Mitchell's stuff.
I know all these teams want Mitchell, but I don't know why Utah doesn't.
You don't seem.
He's a good scorer, but I feel like what's the? Mitchell's like a
26 the last 2 years.
Give me a second.
Although he's missed games both years, did 50. He only missed a lot of games 2 years ago.
I'm starting to see a trend with you, buddy. I don't think you like the slashing guard types. You don't seem to be high in John Morant. You don't seem to be high in Mitchell. It's fine. It's just I'm starting to notice the type of players that you gravitate.
You gotta be able to do it. I don't like the slashing point guards.
So
Like
you're
a
not.
Russ.
Good role for them. I feel like a point guard needs to be a distributor.
I agree.
And I feel like their best offensive attribute would be their shooting. Because if they can shoot, they'll get spacing, which will allow them to be able to get good passing lanes and distribute well.
So are you a fan of?
And any guy can drive into four people and then have nowhere to pass because there's four people around you.
Yeah.
Only LeBron was big enough to be able to pass over everyone when doing it.
Yeah.
So I like slashers to be like your wing. If you want to be a point forward, then you can be a slashing point forward. But I don't like slashing point guards. My guards, I like to. They're smaller. I like them to shoot and not drive into 6 and 7, not drive into 7-footers. All game, every game, which is what John.
I didn't.
Mitchell at least tried to have games where he would jump and shoot threes. He just can't shoot. He needs to get better at shooting, and he'd be so much better. But my problem with Mitchell is he gets burnt on defense too often. I'm trying to think. Who's the guy I'm thinking of?
See,
Damn it. Played early 2000s Houston guard.
Tracy.
Good score. Really good score. I think he played with Yap. Good
Tracy
score, but
McGrady.
got burnt on defense all the time.
You have to be talking about Tracy McGrady.
It might be, maybe no, because T-Mac wasn't a guard. Young T-Mac was really good, but maybe old T-Mac.
TV franchise?
Who am I thinking? Maybe it wasn't Houston. Maybe it was a different Texas. Maybe it was Dallas or something.
Steve Francis? No?
Early 2000s guard. I remember they were a really good scorer. Cannot think of their name right now. Really good scorer, but they always got burnt on defense. So it's you knew the guy against them going for 20-plus points, so he better go for 30.
It'll come to you. It's basically every 2000s player on that Suns team that took the MVP.
It could have been one of the Suns. I know it was Western Conference. I feel like it was a Texas team. So I want to say Houston or Dallas because it wasn't like Tony Parker with the Spurs or anything.
So Mike,
I cannot for the life of me think of who it was.
I'm gonna
If
let
I think of it before the end of the podcast, I'll let you know. I'm sitting here trying to think of it for a minute. Who the fuck was it? Because I don't even know what year. It could literally be any year from 2002 to 2010. Someone, a guard in the Western Conference, good scorer, horrible defender.
Baron Davis.
It might have been Baron Davis.
At this point, it could be almost anybody.
At this point, I've given you no parameters, honestly. At this point, you're right. But
So
that's sort of what I see with Donovan Mitchell. He needs to get a better shot so he can be a much more consistent scorer.
He's got a pretty good shot.
Play some better defense. And if he went to the Heat, he would probably learn how to play better defense. Spo would put that in.
I have to disagree with you. First of all, I think he's a terrific defender, and I think he's a lot better shooter than you think. He's way better of a shooter than
Ball dominant. That's one thing that I also do.
He will smack. He is what I call a honeypot, where the ball just smacks against that honey and does not move. I will say that about him. But you're comparing him almost like a Jimmy Butler type where he can't shoot. I think he's got way more offense than that. I'm high on Donovan now. I want to mention.
You pointed out, a lot of his strong offensive features are features that I don't think are gonna. While they are good things to have, I don't think they're good for a guy in his thing to be focusing on.
Right, and I'm glad that we can disagree, and then
I can agree and disagree at the same time.
Right.
I get what you're saying. He does have a lot of offensive capabilities, other than just being a great shooter and distributor.
right.
But at his position, I want him to be a great shooter and distributor.
Yeah, he's a decent shooter. He's not great. He averages 36% from the three for his career, so
I just
not
think
not great, but not bad.
Yeah, that's solid. But I'd like for him to be like more like I like. Really, 36%? I really thought that was closer to 31.
No, dude, I'm telling you, he's
Looking it up on Basketball Reference right now. 44
He might have a really
from
good
two.
year last year or something because, like,
no, he's just a better shooter than you gave him credit for.
you might be. So, like, I thought he was around like a 30%
Because-
three-point shooter in that.
You also got to remember that
He was
Utah.
34% this year, which was his lowest. So maybe you're right on that. Like he was trending down this year, I guess, but every other year it's pretty consistent.
Now, I would say he's more of a Dwayne Wade type, where I would classify him more as a scorer, like as a creative shot creator than a like knockdown shooter. But Mike, let's get back to your list because it actually springboarded to other topics, but they were good. So I want to finish out your list because who knows what kind of cannonball we'll do after you give us the rest of your list.
Well, all right. Well, the next thing we kind of talked about a pre-show, but I'll go kind of to Gov's point with the team, and then I'll kind of dish it to you and see like what. And it's going to open up the question, but the Lakers have 3 guys on their team that all are, I don't know, all-stars the last decade. Maybe not Anthony Davis, just maybe he wasn't in the league for a whole decade yet, but I think he's probably there now. And, first of all, which one of those 3 do you want to see the most back in the playoffs? And then are all 3 of them going to be on the same team?
First, can I circle back to that we got Darvin Ham, and I saw him play with the Pistons, so I'm very familiar with him. Do you remember him at all, Mike? I'm assuming Gov might be too young. So you do know Jody Meeks, though, right?
Yes.
Very, very similar games to Jody Meeks, where it's like there were points where you're like, this guy shouldn't be on the court, but was just like super gritty and would hit big shots in key moments. Like he would play really good, like Torrey Craig style defense, like really good defense, and just like a poor man's Bruce Bowen, right? And I'm like, I like this guy, man. You know me, I like that Jimmy Butler kind of dog. So like,
Yeah. I
always pick a guy that I like from a team I'm cheering against. And so when the Lakers went against the Pistons, I remember my friend being a big Pistons fan. So I picked Ham as the guy. And funny enough, that's when he got his only ring was against the Lakers. Now he's coaching with them. And then I remember when he got hired by the Bucks, I thought, well, he was a gritty player who could shoot a 3. I could see why this could be good for Giannis. But I didn't really see it. And then they got Holiday, and I'm like, oh, wait, this guy's going to take Holiday to the next level. Now, I bring that up to say the reason, reportedly, the inside track reason why they brought him in, specifically him, was they think he can help a slashing, attacking player like Giannis. And one of the major pieces they want to build around is Russell. They basically want to fix Russell and make him effective within this new Lakers scheme. And they thought Ham was the guy to do it because of his success with Giannis and these kind of slashing types, because he's been known to improve slashers' shooting percentage. So everyone thinks that we're trading Russell, but from all accounts, they brought in Ham to actually coach up Russell. And it would make some sense because Ham was kind of a gritty guard. So who knows? I think if we had the guts, we trade LeBron James because, to Gov's point with the Utah Jazz, LeBron has the probably the biggest cachet of all three of those guys. He's the oldest, and I still think he would want to chase a championship and people want to play with him. Opposed to, I don't know how much you would get out of Anthony Davis because of injuries. He's already been not as productive on a bad team, so like that kind of eliminates the bad team from building around him. And then everyone's like super low on Russell, which I think is wrong. I think Russell's going to have a bounce back year, but everyone's super low on him right now, so his trade value is low. So if you're going to trade any of those three, it's got to be LeBron James, in my opinion.
I would agree. Like that would be the best move for the Lakers if we trade LeBron.
He's got
Trade
the
him to
most.
Miami.
He's got the most value, and he's the oldest. For those two
Trade him to
reasons,
Miami for like Struss and Robinson and picks.
How
Well,
many picks for LeBron? I know he's at the tail end of the career, but for LeBron, you're gonna want more than. Who did you say, Strus and Hero?
Bam and picks.
Oh,
Just do that. Trade LeBron for Duncan, Bam, and picks.
oh, Bam too. Okay.
I would do that.
Yeah.
And I think
Now you get LeBron, Butler.
Cam would love that move.
You got to put a team around it, but like you could do that.
I think Cam would love that move because Ham likes versatile defenders, and Bam is proven to be one of the more versatile defenders in the league.
And if you put Bam there, you could put Bam a 5. Now Anthony, like him and Anthony, I think him and Anthony.
Yeah, they would play. That would work
horrible thing.
because Bam, he doesn't like playing the 5.
You give more space for Westbrook up top. Like that would probably be the best move. LeBron gets to go back to Miami. I don't think he'd hate that. I don't think his family would hate that.
It'd be a good fit to have LeBron James and Butler play together. Like I think those guys could get on.
Those two could work well off each other. That's like basically like him and Wade. They're just older.
I think Jimmy Butler would be the first teammate to get in LeBron's face and give him shit
would have
for
no problem doing
lax defense.
Absolutely have no
And
problem.
I think LeBron would have a hard time.
No, I
Butler.
actually disagree with that, Mike. I actually think that's what LeBron needs, and I think he would
Agree it's
welcome
what he needs.
I think he needs it, but I think he would welcome it. I don't think a lot of people have the coconuts to do it, and Jimmy would be one of them.
Yeah, I think LeBron's always put maybe, I don't know if him and Russ have really got into it. They don't seem to do it on the court. Like, I feel like ESPN would have made a big deal if there was any like real sideline blow-ups, unless I'm forgetting one. There was always little stuff where the body language was terrible between like LeBron and AD were cool with each other, and they were both cool hating on anything Russ was about. It seemed like they towards the end of the season they just seemingly wanted nothing to do with him on the bench. I know that might be looking into too much, but I don't know. Do you agree at all, Logan? You watch more of their games.
Well,
Do you think? Go ahead.
here's what I'll say. I think a lot of this trade Russell talk came from the media because Russell wasn't afraid of LeBron. But I don't think LeBron minds being criticized. I think he actually views it as a challenge. Because Kobe started doing that to LeBron, and that's actually when I gained the most respect for LeBron is when he actually took that criticism. I'm still not a huge fan of him, but I will say he does have thicker skin than he gets credit for.
I think LeBron just has a tough time. I think it could be a lot easier to take criticism from Kobe because Kobe is obviously, in my opinion, right up there. He's not Jordan, but he was the next best thing. And I know that's just in my young eyes and era. Not that I'm young, but like I'm not an old either. So I don't know, all the greats before that well. I haven't gone back and studied all the film. I know the names, but best player I ever saw was Jordan. So sorry to get off track, but the like LeBron, I think LeBron, in his own words, views himself as the greatest player of all time. He said that in the shop. And so for him to he definitely thinks he's the greatest player of his era. He's not going to listen to Russell. I think he just, I don't know. There's something up. They can't play together. I don't think Russell and LeBron. I don't think it's ever going to work, but I do think Russell can still play. So I'm with you there. And I just hope he either gets traded or LeBron and AD get traded, because I don't know if AD wants to play with Russell either.
So we did talk about the potential of next season, which I think is good. Now, is there any other potential moves, off-season adjustments, fantasy predictions, free agent outcomes, or shall we transition to our next topic?
I can move on to the next topic.
Yeah, I'm good with that too. I did want to mention I'm watching the this hockey game. And I know I text Logan that I said it's going to be two great offenses. Speak of the devil, man. There's been 8 goals already. It's 5-3. There was 5 in the first period. We're only 5 minutes into the second period, and there's been 3 more already. This is fireworks. If you're not into hockey, there's nothing else on but baseball tonight and us. But you can listen to us and watch hockey on TNT if you're.
I was gonna say, Mike, which one's more likely to die? So I'm glad you brought it up. Which one's the bigger dinosaur in the Jurassic Park? Baseball or hockey? Which one is on its way out?
I don't. The fact that hockey got back on TNT, I don't think they were ever on TNT before. They got back on ESPN this year, and then TNT, and I think sometimes TBS too. So they've gotten on and then I think probably the finals are probably on NBC or Fox. I forget who has the rights, but it'll probably be ABC now because they're on ESPN. Who knows? But they're probably going to be on a major network. They're getting a lot more exposure. The players are getting better.
Mike, you're wrong in this, buddy. I hate to tell you, golf is coming up, buddy. Tomorrow night, we're about to watch a football player versus 2 guys who probably should retire in the next 3 years, and they're going to draw just as much viewership on TNT with the match as people give a shit about hockey or baseball. I'm telling you, golf is on the way up, and it's because they're appealing to young people. They have a Netflix show coming
Is tomorrow night Brady Manning versus whoever it is?
It's Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady against Josh Allen and Mahomes.
Yeah.
And by the way,
that's going to be fun as shit. Can I bet on that on DraftKings? Actually, I have to look.
You can, and they have a free pool. By the way.
Oh fuck yeah! I'm gonna. I have to crunch that tomorrow.
Here's the honest truth, because I watch golf. I'm telling you, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are actually good at golf. Where everyone just thinks because Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen can throw a football far, they're going to be able to hit a golf club. Golf's more about technique, and Aaron Rodgers is legit good at golf.
I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have taken they wouldn't go on national TV if they couldn't play golf.
No, I'm not saying that Josh Allen can't. All I'm telling you is it shouldn't be close. That's how good Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers should be as a team. So we'll see. We got a segment where we're going to close up the show where I'll put my money where my mouth is, if you will, a bit. Now, we were supposed to have CJ on the show, Mike, and he had a bunch of NBA Finals takes. So I kind of want to have him back on the show where he can give us his takes. hopefully maybe Thursday, maybe Friday, we can get CJ on the show. What are your guys' finals takes, though? Since I built this nice little graphic and the finals is Thursday, we should hit on the finals. Now that we talked about the preview of guys we want to see in the playoffs, let's talk about the two champions at the end of the road.
Another goal in the hockey game. Sorry, we'll get just.
No, you're good, man. The show is built around live content, so if you see something exciting, you shout it
This
out.
is just a lot of action. It's good. It's good for their game. That's why I just think there's hockey's coming up, because for like 20 years it hasn't been on the channels people are watching.
Well, there's
Now
a
it's in their face. People are going to see it more, get more familiar with it again. I think baseball's been in the same we're going down trend for the last 20 years, and they're trying to make some changes with pitch clocks and stuff like that, but I don't know. I don't see it making that big a difference yet.
Well, there's a reason they play hockey on the ice, and it's the ice age, Mike. I don't do that.
And I'm saying this all, and I didn't watch much hockey at all this year, but I am excited to watch these playoffs.
Because I got into golf late, man. It's not like I can watch hours and hours of golf, but I love the young product. So if you want to hype up hockey as this new up and comer, you might be right, man.
Yeah, but back to the question of the finals takes. Gov, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first? Up to you, or Logan.
I have no problem going first.
All right, go.
I mean, I have Golden State.
Picked them pre-playoffs.
I had them winning the whole thing over Milwaukee anyway. So, like, I'm still going to stick with Golden State. I got them winning in 6. I think they'll close it out in Boston. I think that that twice this year they've had the ability to close it out on another team's court in Game 6.
Don't?
And they just look like they didn't
plan
want to do it.
by Google. Get Simply Unlimited.
I apologize.
Or it was Game 4 in Dallas. It wasn't Game 6. But, like, they've had a chance to close it out on the opposing team's court twice in this playoffs. And they dropped the ball, didn't do it against Memphis, and just didn't do it against Dallas.
Mike,
I don't think they do that in the finals. I think if they get up 4-2 going into Game 6, or get up 4-1 going into Game 6,
then it'll be over because it'll be 4-1.
I want to challenge us, though, to put on our CJ caps. And if you don't know CJ Govs, CJ is our, like, Boston Celtics fan. So wouldn't you say, though, CJ would want us to cheer against the Celtics? Like, he doesn't want anyone to jump on the bandwagon right now.
Probably not.
I mean,
yeah. I'm not going to say – I don't know all his reasonings, or I won't say all his reasonings, but we know he's picking the Celtics to win.
yeah, I'm not even saying like CJ. I'm just saying like Celtics fans in general. I don't think they're afraid of being the underdog. In fact, I think they would probably admit they are the underdog, and they're perfectly fine with that, and that kind of fits that team's morality anyways. Hell, I don't even know if all the Celtics believe they could win the championship, but I think that's why they're here, if that makes sense. Like, they're there because they're the junkyard dog. They're the ones that eat the scraps behind the restaurant, not in front of the restaurant. And they're perfectly fine doing it. And that's why I picked a guy like Robert Williams and their coach, who has more gray in his beard than Draymond does. Like, so, like, they're okay being the Grizzly veteran. And I think that, you know, they want to be that polar bear that eats the beautiful seal in front of Disney World. You know, California, Florida references, like the pretty boy with Curry. I think that's the role they want. They want to muddy up the game with a Marcus Smart, you know, dives on the floor, takes out Clay's knees. Like, they don't mind being the heel in this scenario.
Yeah, I think you're right that the Celtics, they definitely want to play the role of the underdog, and I don't know how they can. I mean, the line says that they're the underdog. You know, it's close. Golden State's minus 160, Boston minus 135 on FanDuel Sportsbook. But the big things for me is I just think that Golden State is that veteran team for a reason. They have championships. They have their core back. I know they had KD for 2 of those championships, but the guys who were always there were Curry, Clay, Draymond. Clay, obviously, as you guys know, missed the 2 years with the back-to-back major injuries, and they never quite got right. But I do think that nobody's Kevin Durant on that team, but collectively they found a way to get back to what worked for them in the beginning. That first year, the first 2 years without KD, even though they didn't win the title, they just got a lot of guys that can shoot and move the ball and play good defense. And they still have Steph Curry, who's just the best shooter of all time.
I will say, though, the way that Boston's constructed does kind of remind me of a Warriors type of run where you could maybe not the style, but like where you could see like the majority of that team sticking together and being that veteran team that like goes to multiple finals in the next 4 to 5 years. Like I could see Jaylen Brown and Tatum staying together, and then having Robert Williams be that Draymond Green, or even Grant Williams has no problem being that feisty guy. I think stylistically it is going to be our most entertaining series. And funny enough, I do think it's going to come down to the guys that most basketball fans don't know, but have been sneakily the reason that both teams are here. Kevon Looney has been fantastic, and so has Robert Williams. So between Robert Williams and Al Horford, who've kind of never put it together in a combined game, those 2 guys have been sleepily great for both of their teams. And then Looney and Wiggins have been great for the Warriors. Everyone knows the main actors, but really, I think those 2 guys for both teams have been the reason that they've been the difference maker.
Yeah.
I would say a sneaky DraftKings play that just wasn't good in the Miami Heat series because of a matchup, but I think could just explode in this series would be Jaylen Brown. I think I don't know who guards Jaylen Brown on the Warriors.
Probably either Clay or Wiggins.
I mean, physically, I guess I would know, or like I can name you a
To
guy.
be fair, the way the Warriors work, Clay, Wiggins, and Draymond will 3-man switch between Brown, Horford, and Tatum.
But I wasn't talking technical. I was talking like I actually think the Heat were a really good defensive team, and they took Brown out of it.
And the Warriors are also very good defense.
Yeah.
You don't realize that.
They kind of all do that. Both teams switch a lot on defense, and that's what makes them so good.
But I do think the kryptonite for the Warriors will be a guy like Jaylen Brown. I just feel like he'll have a good series.
He is probably the X factor. Him or Marcus Smart are probably the X factor because it all depends. Like when the Warriors do their defensive adjustments and start switching guys, I don't like Jaylen Brown could be the big guy if he's the dude who gets the Curry defense. Like when they get all their switching on offense and Boston does everything, who's going to be matched up with Curry? Because Clay and Wiggins and Draymond will all play very good defense on whoever they're on. But and then Looney's going to protect the rim and guard time.
Let me just.
Someone's going to be guarded by Curry every possession. Is it going to be Smart? Is it going to be Brown? Are they going to set up some weird thing where Curry's guarding Horford, and then Clay, Wiggins, and Draymond just shut down Smart, Brown, and Tatum? Like I don't know exactly how their defensive rotations are going to work. I've been trying to watch film on the 2 games they played against each other this year, but the last game they played was when Curry got hurt. I don't think Marcus Smart did anything dirty, but whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also think you guys have
That.
you can't like see the past clearly on both of these teams. Like The Golden State was a champion before they had their win season and lost in the finals to LeBron. Before Durant joined the team, they already had rings, and probably should have had 2 with that 7-2 win season, losing 7 games to LeBron and the Cavs. Then Durant joins that team. That's how good that Warriors team was. They were dominant for 3 or 4 years before Durant joined them. And then on the other side, this Boston team has been together for 7 years.
Yeah.
And they've been in the Eastern Conference Finals like 5 of the last 7 years, trying out Kyrie, trying out other things, trying out Kemba Walker, rotating guys in. This year it's Horford that they haven't had every time. But like Tatum, Brown, Smart, those guys have been on this team. That has been a core that they've been making runs to the Eastern Conference Finals to for almost a decade now. It's not like they're young and have a decade more to run. Like maybe they have a decade more to run, but they're in the prime of their title contention. They need to get one out of this because Boston's been nipping at this title and been losing to Giannis and losing to that Toronto-led Kawhi team and losing to LeBron in Cleveland and the other teams that have made it out of the East in the last 7 years, losing to that Miami team in the bubble. Like that's Boston losing in the Eastern Conference Finals to all these teams for the last 6 years. So like they're a good team, but they're not a young team. They need to get over this hump. And the Warriors, they're the same team they've been for a decade. They've just retooled. That's why I give it to them. I think they're going to have the experience, and they're already a better – like, they're both really good teams. Can't say anything about one being a better team.
Gov, I won't cut you off, man. Take a nice sip of that beautiful,
You're good, yeah.
beautiful, nice soda you got. I want to get Mike
Someone
back.
else does need to say something. Yeah.
Mike, any takeaways that CJ is going to be listening to this? I don't know if you guys saw on the highlights there when Gov was talking. I want to shout out CJ again. He was going to join us. Had a massive headache. He had to work some overtime. The young man was out there grinding, to get money. We can't hate on a guy getting money. Talk about a guy getting money. Robert Williams probably made himself a ton of money this playoff. What are some key takeaways? Some other things you want to hit on, Mike? I want to save most of the finals talk maybe till after game one, till we get a full picture. Because I think Boston could have almost a series where it's like we're not going to give them credit until they actually do it, but they could still do it.
Yeah, I agree that Boston definitely has a chance to win the series. I'm not saying that they don't, but I am going to pick the Warriors, and I also do think that they are going to win in 6, and I do know that it is in Boston, but I think Boston's just going to win. I think they're probably going to split the first 2-2 at home. I think Golden State wins one, then Boston comes back, makes adjustments. Then I don't know exactly how they're going to split the next 2 at Boston, but I think it's a split again. And then I think Golden State wins at home and then closes it out the next time. But it could go 7, but I'm going to stick with my original thought was 6 as well. Gov said it too, but yeah, that's what I honestly think. So it's okay to get the same pick.
I'm going to be quick because, like I said, I really want to get reactions after the game because I think that'll be the most fun. We can get CJ in here. We'll have a clearer picture. We'll have that first round kind of jitters out of the way. We'll see some punches get thrown. But I got to say, I think this will be one of the more competitive finals we see, and it will be a shame because I don't think the series, in terms of the number, will be close, but the score will be close. I'm talking I don't think any game will be decided by more than 5 points, but I do see the Warriors winning in 5. I think every game will be close, but I just think Boston goes cold from 3, and that's where a Jordan Poole is going to come in and hit the 3, or the Otto Porter could get healthy, or maybe the corpses. The Warriors are just deeper than people realize. Yes, sir.
Yeah, if Porter's healthy, Gary Payton, the mitten comes back. Iguodala's neck feels good. They are legit deep and can play so many different ways. Like it's very underrated how if they had Gary Payton and Iguodala, their defense is just like they can literally defend anyone at that point.
And people are going to
They
say,
can put a lineup on the court that can defend anyone.
and people are going to say Looney's overrated. Maybe he is, but he's
a solid piece for them.
But he fits this team well, right? Like
Exactly.
Mike and me as single men would not cook on an easy bake oven. But if you have a house of 3 or 4 little girls or boys, you might have an easy bake oven in your house. So like certain players are going to fit certain households. And who cares if Looney would fit well on the Toronto Raptors or the Nuggets? He fits perfectly with the Warriors. So that's all that matters at this current moment, is that he is exactly what the Warriors need. He did exactly what the Warriors wanted to do. And a more younger, sexier guy like, Wiseman just wasn't available. Wiseman might be more talented long term. He just wasn't available. And Looney stepped up. We still got to give credit for that. We got to give credit to Robert Williams or Al Horford. Even if you think Al Horford's going to retire next season or whatever, right now in this current state, he's doing exactly what the Celtics want. So any other finals talk, or can we move on to these last couple topics?
Yeah, I'm good on. I got mine.
Yeah, I can save some for another day for the finals. Let's move on to the other topic.
All right, let me pull them up, and I believe I can play a bit of this because there's a rule where you can play 15 minutes of a conversation and not have to worry about copyright too much. So with that being said, I did want to play a little bit of Draymond Green in terms of he was talking to Stephen A. Smith and kind of this old school sports media, and I thought it was an interesting little topic he had. So I'm just going to play a bit of it, and then we can talk about it a bit, and then I'll briefly talk on a topic that I want to bring up on next show in more detail, but I want to kind of preview it, almost like a trailer, if you will, or like a little behind the scenes of what could be coming in the way we debate, in the way we discuss things going forward. But I want to play a bit of this Draymond Green thing, as I think Mike had to take a quick step away. But me and Gov will listen to this Draymond Green taken.
I'm here.
Are you here, Mike? Okay. That's good.
Yeah, I'm
good
just
going
to it for the tape.
It's okay. I'm going to play some of this Draymond Green. Here we go.
Hey, do you ever walk into a room and completely forget why you're there? Yeah, totally. Do you ever feel like?
What's up, everybody? It's Draymond.
Okay, before I can play any more of this, Gov, can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay, good. Here we go.
Green, make sure you subscribe to the Volumes YouTube channel below so you don't miss any more of this great content going forward. I cannot sleep after games, so I've been up all morning. Then, of course, Get Up came on. I watched. Patrick Beverley's been on. I tweeted some things about Patrick Beverley and how he's now speaking like the new media. And my brother Stephen A. has something to say about that.
Let me explain something. I appreciate Draymond. That's my brother. I love him dearly. He's as real as it gets. I got a lot of love for him. I'm rooting for him. I root for him all the time. Just like I got love for his crazy self. But when you talk about new media, y'all need to watch yourself. Because let me tell you something. Ain't nobody usurping this brother. Okay. Not from a basketball standpoint. I'm talking not from an athletic standpoint. I don't give a damn what player is out there. There's skills that come with doing this too.
Let me make this clear. Stephen A. has a...
So before we continue, Gov, do you think that is Stephen A. being jealous? Do you think that's him playing around? Like, what's kind of your takeaway from just that comment? Is he... What do you take away just from that?
That's Stephen A. being Stephen A. He's polarizing jackass. I don't think he believes... I think he's got a lot more Skip Bayless in him and doesn't believe half the shit comes out of his mouth.
So he's just doing it for theatrics. Okay, Mike, what do you?
I got that's totally theatrics.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. He does everything to, get a reaction.
I just
That's
have
exactly why I don't watch anything he is on. I don't watch First
Same.
Take. I don't watch Stephen A's World. I see the ads for it. I see him come up on clickbait ads where he's always talking, and I just love just scrolling past because I don't really give a shit about Stephen A or any take he has on basketball. And maybe there is a following for him, but I think he needs ESPN way more than ESPN needs him. ESPN could get any one of these other NBA players to have their own show in that time slot, it would do fine.
Yeah, I think Stephen A. Smith's show would do good. I just think with the conformity that ESPN has, I just think the new age media is the way to go. I want to play a bit more of this, though. We just have to react over some of it, so that way we can play it. But I want to, because he gets into it a little bit more, and I think it's an interesting conversation. Then we can comment and kind of close up shop from there. But I think this is interesting.
The way and who he is, that I think is absolutely special. I think is incredible. I think Stephen A. is an original. I think Stephen A. created a lane that not many people can go into, and you have to tread carefully going into that lane. Because if you don't succeed in going into that lane, it doesn't look good. Stephen A. can be Stephen A. because that's Stephen A. But then when you try to follow that, it's tough. Stephen A. is a tough act to follow. It's hard to explain. I think it's more so kudos to Stephen A. But he's a tough act to follow. He's tough for someone else to go try to copy on TV. And I think I see a lot of people do that.
I agree with that.
Stephen A., the new media is here, and the new media is
I
here
do
to stay,
too.
my friend. Now,
No one's trying to copy Stephen A. because he's not good.
He is definitely polarizing. People want to be him.
number one, I don't do this sometimes, Stephen A. You need to check out the Draymond Green show. It drops twice a week. I don't just do this sometimes, baby. This is real. This is here to stay. This is going nowhere. So this is not a sometime thing. I put a lot into this, and I hope. And if you don't, that's okay, because you'll just continue to notice me, baby. You'll continue to notice me, Stephen A. But when I speak on new media, Stephen A., you got some new media in you too now. You're not totally like those older guys that don't know how to give flowers and show love. Stephen A., that's not you. So when I speak on new media, you got some new media in you too, my friend. Whether you know it or not, you halfway us and halfway over there. We accept you, Stephen A. We love you, my brother. And in large part, dude, you got some of that new media, some of us in you. But the days of the old media is over, baby. We here, we coming to take over. That's why y'all got Pat Bev on every night. And like I said in my tweet, for those that didn't see the tweet, matter of fact, I'm going to read the tweet.
Once he reads the tweet, we'll comment. But this tweet is the reason I want to play this video. So let him finish here, and then we'll pick it up.
For you, because on ESPN, they show the first beginning of the tweet, but they actually didn't show the entire tweet. So I'm going to the tweet, and I'm going to read it for you. Number one, because I think it should be heard, and I'm speaking on Pat Bev. I said Pat Bev went on TV and got off to a bad start with the CP stuff. I've watched him a lot since. He's extremely knowledgeable and well-spoken. Also, now speaking like the new media. If you watch this segment this morning, you understand what I'm saying. They don't understand that he's speaking of LeBron, and this is Windhorst saying, "Oh, LeBron would laugh at you compared." No, LeBron wouldn't laugh at you mentioning Steph Curry with him because LeBron James would appreciate Steph Curry's greatness. It doesn't. You don't have to drag like that. You don't have to pull LeBron James down and make him out to be less. To say you can start to mention Steph in that category because of his accomplishment, because of his impact on basketball, because of the things that he's done. That doesn't make LeBron less of who LeBron is, but that's what the old media do. Because it's all about clickbait. It's not.
Which is funny, and I'll leave it there because I don't want to get a copyright. And shout out to Draymond Green and the volume if you guys want to listen to the whole thing. I do think it was interesting. What I find funny is everyone acts like these young kids are all about social media or not giving respect to the elders. But he just mentioned it, how LeBron James would not care to be mentioned with Steph Curry because they would motivate each other to be better. It's the old media, the Stephen A. Smith that compete with the Skip Baylesses. It's the old dinosaurs that are fighting. And if the old dinosaurs were winning or there was a real art the way Stephen A. Smith thinks, there wouldn't be a Peyton Manning cast. ESPN wouldn't have the Manning cast out. The reason they do that is because they're trying to appeal to a younger audience. The new age of sports is coming. And so to close up shop, kind of preview next week, Mike, I want us to think long and hard, us and the viewers. What are 3 ways that you think sports is going to stay the same and 3 ways it's going to change? If you have any initial thoughts on what you just heard, then you can give the people that. But I do think that would be an interesting topic as we kind of lead into next week. Because I do think gambling is going to be a bigger part of sports going forward. I think off-season coverage, I don't think there's going to be as much off-season breakdowns. Like I think people like draft talk. I think the younger generation like free agency. I think sports is changing, but I think people want a more realistic pop culture kind of vibe with their sports. And I don't think people are afraid to blur the lines as much as they were in the 2000s. Any takeaways?
I agree with that. Yeah.
But like as far as the things you said, the 3 things that think are going to stay the same or change?
Yeah. Like, what are some things that you think are? And we can even bleed it into next weekend, so like you can have some time to think about it. But I kind of want to bring that up because a lot of people think that like DraftKings essentially is going to have their own show, or like there's going to be a DraftKings broadcast.
They kind of already do. I mean, they sponsor enough of those betting shows. I mean, they even sponsor, like, just get regularly sponsored in probably Sports Center. I don't know, like just regular ESPN shows.
Well, they did just
a bunch of stuff. You watch AEW; they have DraftKings in the corner of the ring.
I was just
like
gonna
a boxing match.
like
as a logo.
I was just going to mention that they did the UFC kind of thing where the fake wrestling just signed a huge deal with DraftKings to promote to the younger audience. So they have almost turned the wrestling ring into the UFC style ring where they have all these advertisements. I just think that's the way of the new media. And it's funny I get that phone call because I was actually thinking about we should wrap it up from here. So we can pick this conversation up next time. I kind of wanted to preview a topic and then talk about it next time. So that'll be the preview for next week. Do you guys want to mention anything before we close up shop?
One last thing on Stephen A. I do believe he is a talented guy, a hard worker. Like, I don't think there's anybody that maybe like puts in more time because he is always all over. Like, the guy's always working. So he is talented, but that's all I'll say.
I actually have a Stephen A. Smith story. I was actually going to bring it tomorrow because I was thinking about doing a monologue. So I do think I'll bring that Stephen A. story along. Go. Any other topics? Any other comments you want to bring up for next show?
I have a question I want to leave you guys with to think about, and we'll get back to it. but it's sort of a stupid question.
Good.
But because I love all this stuff, and you guys know, I want you guys to think about what's your favorite drinking sport? And by drinking sport, I mean a sport you play while drinking. So stuff that's played in bars is drinking sports. Stuff that where you would definitely be drinking. So golf could even be a drinking sport because I know plenty of people get drunk on the range.
Right.
Or drunk with that. Okay, so I'll count golf.
Okay. Can I
Pool,
count?
bowling usually has a bar in it. Darts are usually played at a bar with alcohol in it. So of all of that kind of stuff.
So
Think about it for next week, but I want that to be your crazy question for me.
here's
What's your favorite like bar sport?
here's my follow-up though, Gov. Can I include like gambling?
I mean, people are going to be betting on pool games in the pool hall.
That's what I
People
mean,
bet
like-
on the golf game. Like people are betting on the game. I think gambling is a part of sports and a part of everyone. People are willing to take risks on a lot of things.
Right.
Sometimes with money on things. Sometimes it's with their life on things. Sometimes
Right.
it's with a lot of things. Like
Well, that's
gambling's just part of. I feel like gambling's part of life.
what
So-
I was more talking about, like that kind of fun betting you do with your friends, not so much
See,
drafting.
and I feel like that's part of life. I want to know what's your favorite of those. Like, I think of them as sports. Even cornhole. People playing cornhole in the backyard at a barbecue. You're drinking doing that. What's your favorite of those kind of sports? And I count them as sports. We watched them through the pandemic. They're sports.
Gotcha.
I call them a drinking sport, whatever you want to call it, bar sport, whatever.
Don't.
Pool, bowling, cornhole, golf, any of that kind of stuff.
I'll say it'd be funny.
What's your favorite one of those?
Definitely.
I think yours is probably golf, but like again, you might love watching golf, but how much golf do you actually get to play? Like, which one of those sports do you like the most? Like,
Right.
I actually, to be honest, I probably like bowling more than I like pool, but I'm probably better at pool.
Gotcha. No, that's an interesting one. I like it.
But like, throw that one to Mike if you didn't hear it. And get back to me next time. Well, there's my crazy question
Yeah,
to you
we'll
guys.
definitely
What's your
make.
favorite non-mainstream sport that you could play well?
I know Mike's a huge poker guy. I know he's huge into darts. So you're right up.
See, poker, poker, I'm with that. That's a good one.
Yeah, you're right up his alley with that one. So we'll definitely dive into those topics, and then we'll talk about it if sports is too much, and then like has the off season become its own sport, and then we'll kind of get into those topics. Hopefully, we can get CJ on to recap game one. For now, guys, have a good night. Take care. Have a good one. Be safe.
Peace out.